Hello, welcome to round number 11 of the Apex Online Racing rFactor 2 Formula 1 World Championship. We're here at Hungary. My name is Zach Jones, and alongside me is Curtis Kenyon. And Curtis, we're here in qualifying, the first part of qualifying, and it's going to be very, very close with such a short circuit.
Yeah, fantastically short circuit. A lot of quick corners that you have to react to quickly. Not only that, we've got penalties from last week that are really going to shake up the field and force some drivers through the field again.
Yeah, it's there's penalties are plenty that will have an impact on the race. We've got, I believe, Kenyon White is serving a back of the grid, so he won't be taking part in qualifying. There's some other drivers. I know Sam Carpenter's got a 10-place grid penalty, so he can take part in qualifying, but he'll just drop 10 places from where he qualifies. So maybe around the 15, 16 mark is where he may end up at the end of qualifying. But we've got Dominic Lambrix is currently heading into turn one. He's the first driver that's going to be setting a time here in Q1, the S2 racing driver, number 22, sitting in P5 at the moment. But no one has set a lap thus far. So he's heading into turn number 2 now. Ahead, a really long left-hander that you really got to have a lot of patience so you don't run out wide as you get impatient trying to get up the throttle too early. Heading up now into turn number, I believe it's turn number 6 there. And he's heading into turn number 6 is the first part of the chicane here. Chicane with a big sausage curve on the inside for both parts, 6 and 7, and then a big sausage curve on the exit to make sure that you really are staying within track limits and you don't float out wide and gain additional time that will make the lap illegal. Heading into the S-bends 8 and 9, these corners are quite difficult to get right now with a lot of tyre scrubbing as well. You can really damage your tyres at heat, especially with the ultra soft, super soft and soft compound tyre available this weekend. The drivers will be making sure that they can keep their tyres under the minimum amount of stress possible. Heading into yet another long and very patient corner that you have to be as he heads into the final corner, turn number 14. He gets really out of shape. Big snap of oversteer, and he sets a 1 minute 19.4, which is it's about 5 seconds off where we'll probably be expecting the drivers to be. O'Hanlon sets a time 1.2 seconds faster, and as we've got Kieran Chadwick sitting P5 at the moment, heading into turn number 13. The penultimate corner. He's backing up now. I believe he's now starting his first qualifying lap of the session. So he come around the final corner now and onto the main straight, activating DRS, the first of 2 DRS zones on this circuit. And he comes across the line to set a 1 minute 16.8. So the drivers seem to be struggling with grip as I actually thought that was an outlap, but he went purple in the first sector. And we've got Geordie's Wires, the VD Sport, currently going through. Heading now down towards turn number 13. He went green in both the first and the second sector, and now in the third sector. Just making sure the car doesn't spin. Under exit into the final corner, turn number 14. Got to position the car right to make sure you can maximise the exit as you head onto the main straight and activate DRS, and you run to the line. And it's going to be third for Geordie's Wires with 1 minute 16.7. So that's fairly decent from Geordie's Wires. We'll put him into Q2 as it stands at the moment with the top 10 progressing. We shall see. We've got 8 minutes still left in the session.
Yeah, an absolute ton of time. We've heard a little bit from Geordie. He had a rough race at Korea. And,
oh, yes.
Very, let's just say, full of incidences that some nuts exactly his issue. And, well, the one that took him out was, unfortunately. But he's coming in here with a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of practice under his belt this time. And just feels really good about this race. He's got his eye on Craig Baxter. We'll see how he does throughout the day.
Well, he said that this and Singapore are the circuits that he really likes the most in terms of the tracks that are on the calendar. So he's expecting a good result here for sure.
So sharp, short corner type of tracks. That makes sense. Yeah, Singapore, obviously the street circuit.
That's great. Interesting. Evan Rice sitting in P15 at the moment, actually behind Geordie's Wires on track, heading into the turn 8, number 9 complex. He's gone green in the first sector. Geordie's Wires gets out of the way as Evan Rice now heads into turn number 11 now onto the sort of a mini back straight. You could see real life Formula 1 adopting a third DRS zone there potentially this year as Evan getting all out of shape on exit, going left and right and then left again. But he seems to keep the car on circuit and he spins right around and he
Yeah.
goes back to the box. That's not worth completing. But at the moment, as it stands, with 6 minutes and 25 seconds remaining in the session, Craig Baxter leads Tino Nelkarainen by 0.4 of a second. So Craig, the only driver in the 1 minute 15s as it stands. We've got Kieran Chadwick's just set a time that puts him in 4th place. So as it stands at the moment, Baxter, Nelkarainen, Zwires, Chadwick, Bracky, O'Hanlon, Lalu, Ilatalo, Cox, and Davidson will be the top 10. And so we're expecting the likes of Philip Kraus, Sam Carpenter to try and put themselves into the top 10. Obviously, Sam, with that 10-place grid penalty, will demote him a fair way down, but it's probably worth going out there and just gaining a few positions in qualifying. But at the same time, you might want to be a bit more proactive with setup. But Sam's actually coming around the penultimate and into the final corner. Now he's going to be starting a lap. So let's see if we go on board with Sam Carpenter, sitting in P19 at the moment. Coming around the final corner, maximising exit, bit of oversteer there. He tries to switch the car on, activating DRS now, firing down towards turn 1. He's going to be building up to well over 315 kilometres an hour, braking after the 100-metre mark. Got to hit the inside curb nicely, activates DRS again for a second little burst down towards turn 2. A corner off camber that'll really can push you out wide onto the grass if you get too impatient and get on the throttle too early. Into turn number 3 now. Gets on the curb on the exit and then building now up towards the hill into turn 4, a very fast and almost blind left-hander. Now into 5, another one of these long, patient corners that you've got to really make sure you can just hold on, grip and wise and temperature-wise, because if you don't, you will be sent off the circuit. Max Shepard, I believe, there gets out of the way. So now into 8, now into turn number 9. He's gone green the first sector with a 26.4, so he'll be looking to potentially gain maybe a 10th or so in comparison to Craig Baxter. Carpenter, though, heading now down towards turn number 12. One of the heaviest braking zones on the circuit behind turn number 1. Now into the penultimate corner, turn number 13. Trying to keep the car all under control. Now into turn number 14, the final corner. Got to make sure that the car is positioned perfectly as he now comes around the final corner, activates DRS and runs to the line. It's going to be 4th place for Sam Carpenter. A 1 minute 16.236. So at the moment that'll be good enough for Q2, but as it stands with 4 minutes left of the session, Baxter's ahead of Nelkarainen by just over half a tenth of a second. And then it's Geordie's Wires, followed by Carpenter, Ilatalo, Davidson, Bracky, Chadwick, Lalo, O'Hanlon. So Philip Kraus yet to set a time, I believe, in this session. I say that, he's just gone fastest by a quarter of a tenth of a second. Perfectly timed there from...
You mentioned a lot of the off-camber corners and just how quick you have to get through this track. And with how slick it is, I think drivers have set up their cars to rotate quickly throughout the corner. And if you enter the corner just wrong, like let's say you brake a little bit too early, it can completely disturb the balance of the car. And on these off-camber corners, it can really throw you off and right off into the grass. The grass is super slippery. Even the AstroTurf on the outside of some of these curbs throws them off. I mean, I was watching Craig Baxter. He just barely got on that AstroTurf, threw him sideways into the wall. It was brutal. Absolutely brutal. This track is insane.
Well, Craig Baxter's just gone fastest with a 1 minute 15.573, put himself 0.3 of a second faster than Philip Kraus. Kieran Chadwick's put himself up into 3rd, ahead of Nelkarainen, Zwires, Carpenter, Rice, Ilatalo, Davidson and Bracky on the cusp of the top 10. With 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in Q1, obviously only the top 10 will be progressing through to Q2, where the drivers will be going for pole position. Looking down the field, we've got both Vulcan cars are racing. We've got Kevin Cox sitting in 13th, Max Shepard in 16th. Tino Nelkarainen's teammate, Ross Woodford, sitting in 15th at the moment. So he'll be looking to improve and maybe put himself up towards where his teammate currently sits. Max Shepard goes 12th with a time that's 1.6 seconds off the one that Craig Baxter has set. And since we're at the Hungary, the lap times will be very, very close because obviously of how short the circuit is. There's less, I guess, distance and less track to lose time on. So people will be having... the gaps will be a lot smaller than what you would normally expect, so it'll be a closer race, but obviously a lot of laps to do. I think there's 59 laps to this Grand Prix, so it's going to be 59 laps of action.
Well, there's 49.
49, okay, I've overestimated my 10. But I was probably expecting it because it's a lot like Monaco, this circuit, but it's just sort of without the barriers. There's a lot more a runoff, both tarmac and gravel traps. But
With how quick the corners come up, yeah, that's a fair estimate. The nice part is, if you do spin out, you spin out a little bit faster into the wall,
yeah,
and that's it. Because
yeah,
close.
there's a big sausage curb on the exit of the chicane, turns 6 and 7. If you get up on that, you're really going to put your car on the plank, and you're going to lose a lot of time. So the drivers are going to be very careful to A, put themselves out there, or B, put other drivers out there if they're defending, because it can turn quite ugly quite quickly if you are found to be pushing someone out there on purpose. But we've got Philip Kraus is currently on an outlap, heading through the third sector. We've got Craig Baxter, actually. We'll see if we can go on board Craig Baxter. He's about to start a lap. 30 seconds left in the session. The Scotsman heading through the final corner. He's going to try and maximise the run onto the main straight there. Got to keep it within track limits. So as he heads now onto the main straight, activating DRS, building up to well over 315 kilometres an hour, almost 320, as he now brakes heavily for turn number 1. Got to make sure he doesn't lock up the inside front right now. Through turn 1, activating DRS yet again. Heading now down towards turn number 2, a corner which Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen collided last year, as the drivers will be setting sail almost off to the outside of this corner into turn number 3. Now got to make sure you don't run out wide. Now up to turn 4, blind, fast and left-handed. Got to make sure that he keeps the car within the track limits. Now another long, patient corner. He gets slightly out of shape there. Was lucky not to spin the car around into the chicane. 6 and 7. Doesn't want to go over the sausage curbs because he will damage his car. Now into turn number 8 and 9. They're quick, but you've got to be very, very patient with them, because you can put your car in a very, very bad position. Through turn number 10, through number 11, heading now down towards turn number 12. There is a car ahead of Craig, but I don't think it's going to affect him. Craig's gone purple in the first sector with a 26.3. Red in the middle, but I think he is strong in the first and final sectors, so we shall see if he can gain time here. He's going to come around the final corner. Is Craig Baxter through turn number 14. Make sure to keep the car within track limits. He's going to run towards the line, and it's going to be a time that improves him by almost 4.5 tenths. It's a 1 minute 15.152. Puts himself 5.5 tenths ahead of Mel Coronan. So we'll see. We've got to wait for everyone to complete their laps, but it looks like it's going to be Craig Baxter ahead of Tina Nel Coronan. Philip Kraus is in 3rd, ahead of Kieran Chadwick. Geordie Zwires in 5th. Evan Rice in 6th. Carpenter 7th. La Lu in 8th. Ilatalo in 9th. Davidson in 10th. So they'll be the top 10 drivers progressing through to Q2 with O'Hanlon, Bracky, Cox, Woodford, Shepherd, Turner, Lambrix, Hebsgaard, Putin and White. The drivers not to progress, obviously Kenyon White with the back of the grid, not able to take part, but he'll be looking to cut his way through the field. 19 drivers, ahead of him at the start of the race.
The lap there by Craig Baxter, you can see how patient you have to be at this track. You have to be extremely quick and very, very precise. But then you get into these long, sweeping corners that are quite sharp. You have to be so patient on the gas to make sure your car doesn't get sideways, and you're able to just complete the turn more than anything. Being able to do this 49 times is quite an ask for quite a few of these drivers, especially with traffic. The veterans obviously are going to probably be just fine, but we do have a few newcomers to the series over the last few races. This one could be quite challenging because it's confidence inducing when you hit the corners the way you're supposed to, but then you go a little bit quicker and you cross the line out of nowhere, and suddenly you're in a sleeping policeman and you're beached like a whale.
A beached whale, yes, a very fast beached whale. At that, but the drivers are now heading to the end of the pit lane to start the final qualifying session. 7 minutes on the clock. We'll be looking to see who can get pole position. We saw, I believe it was Kieran Chadwick in Korea, got a surprise pole position, took it out of Craig Baxter's hands essentially, right at the death, but we shall see. I think Craig Baxter does have a bit of a margin over the rest of the field. He is the only driver in practice to set a 1 minute 14. The next driver to set the time is Philip Kraus with a 1 minute 15.3. So Craig's got a bit of a margin over the rest of the field, but he's got to try and replicate that under the pressure of qualifying number 2. Philip Kraus is the first driver on the track. He's on a set of super soft tyres, so strategy here will play a part as the drivers have got the ultra soft, super soft, and soft compound tyres to play with. If you can qualify on a harder compound, you can open up your strategy in the race, and especially towards the end of the race, being able to be on the faster compound at the end of the race to really push with lower fuel, it can really pay dividends. So we shall see where they can qualify if they think that their position will be good enough, as Philip Kraus is now heading through the final corner now. He's going to be starting his first qualifying lap of Q2, but he's on a set of super soft tyres. He's going to activate DRS now. Running down the main straight, he's going to be building up to about 315 kilometers an hour. Braking for turn 1 just after the 100-meter mark. He's got to make sure that he doesn't lock up the inside front right, where that car is so prone to doing so. Activating DRS now. Again, heading under the tunnel, under the bridge into turn number 2. He's got to make sure he doesn't drift out wide. At the same time, he's got to maximise the exit with all the tarmac that he has available. Through turn number 3, now heading up the hill towards 4. The car won't stick as much if he was to have a set of ultra soft tyres on. Now into turn number 5, got to keep the car under control. Cool, calm and collected as Kieran Chadwick goes purple in the first sector with the exact same first sector. Oh no, sorry, he went at 1/10 exactly faster than Philip Kraus in the first sector. So looking good for Kieran Chadwick thus far, but let's keep our focus on Philip Kraus. He'll be the first driver to set a time here, is heading through to turn number 12 now. Heading now down towards turn number 12, sorry, this is turn number 12. The previous corner was turn number 11. Bit wily on exit, now into turn number 13, the penultimate corner, much like turn 14. Similar, but the only difference is a change in direction. Now through turn number 14, he's going to run towards the line, is Philip Kraus. Craig Baxter's gone purple in the middle sector, but Philip Kraus sets a 15.6. Let's see where Craig Baxter is. He's going to come around the final corner now on a set of super softs as well. Craig's going to run towards the line. It's going to be pole position by 3.5 tenths of a second. Let's see where the rest of the field are. There's no drops going purple, but Nel Karainen is on a lap as well, is Nel Karainen. So here comes Tino. He's going to run towards the line. It's going to be 4th at the moment. So Craig Baxter's ahead of Philip Kraus, with Geordie Zwire sitting in 3rd, Nel Karainen in 4th, with Sam Carpenter sitting in 5th at the moment. We've got Kieran Chadwick, I think, has abandoned his lap. No? Yeah, he has. He's on that lap. So he was on for time. Probably would have put him about 3rd, but he backed out of it. So we shall see. He's coming out again. He's on a set of ultra soft tyres. So Kieran here with the grip advantage over his rivals ahead of him. It'll be interesting to see if he can put himself on pole position, as you probably would expect, considering he's on those purple mark ultra soft tyres.
And he's insanely fast here. He seems to have this track fairly dialed in. Q1 did show him sort of getting a little squirrely on some exits, but kind of everybody was, so not really a telltale sign of any issues with Kieran.
Yeah, I was just having a look there. Geordie's Wides is also on the ultra soft compound, so he'll be looking to probably improve and probably put himself ahead of Craig Baxter, as Philip Kraus is on a hunt now. He's on the main straight. He's starting another lap here in Q2 with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock. Into turn 1 now. Got to keep the car under control. A bit wily there on exit through turn number 1. Now into turn number 2. He's going with a bit of a wider line than he did in Q1, but he's hugging the apex then. As a result, now into turn number 3. Got to keep the car under control. Heading up towards turn number 4. Got to keep the car within the track limits. Almost on the curb there on entry to maximise the entry. He seems to be under control here. He's set a 26.304 in the first sector, which was a fairly decent time there for Philip Kraus. He's gone purple in the first sector, actually. So we shall see if he can put himself towards the front of the grid on these super soft compound tyres. He's gone slightly down in the middle sector. Is he heading now through turn number 12, now into turn number 13. He's got just 2 corners left on this lap. Bit wide there for Philip Kraus. Got to keep the car under control now into the final corner of the lap. He's going to complete the Hungarian circuit. He's going to run towards the line. What's it going to be for Kraus? It's not an improvement. So he lost out there, I believe, in the middle sector. He lost out by some margin there. So
lost out quite a bit. He got a little squirrely just pushing the corners a little bit too much. He's scrubbing speed mostly through the front end. Needs to loosen up that front end a touch, or I'm sorry, I should say tighten it up. Maybe a touch more downforce, or there's a number of adjustments that he can make, but he's trying to keep his speed up too. This is a very, very quick track. You want to be sure you have the top speed to keep up especially with the likes of Craig Baxter. Jordy's Wires is on the hunt as well, sitting third, and even Kieran and Tino both looking super fast.
Yeah, we've got Tommy Ilatalo sitting in 10th place at the moment. He's going to be the first driver to complete their final run of Q2 as the clock is approaching 45 seconds remaining. Tommy's going through the first sector now. He's done a 26.6 in the first sector, so he's about 3/10 off Craig Baxter and Philip Kraus in the first sector alone, so we shall see what he can do time-wise as he heads through the second and third sectors through 8 and 9. Get the car under control through 10, now into turn number 11. Almost sets sail off the circuit there, does Tommy, but he keeps the car under control through turn number 12. Now into penultimate and final corners. Going quite wide, but maximises his exit in doing so, giving himself the wide line. Now into turn number 14 as the clock strikes 0. Tommy Ilatalo is going to run towards the line. It's going to put him 8th, slowest of all the times set so far, but we'll have a look at Jordy's Wires, is currently on a lap, sitting in 3rd place at the moment. He comes towards the line, and what's it going to be for Jordy? It's not an improvement. We'll see if any other drivers are improving. Kieran Chadwick's gone, I believe, set the fastest first sector of all. He's done a 26.2 in the first sector. He is in the ultra soft tyres, but let's see what Kieran Chadwick can do here. He's up by about 1/10.5 on Craig Baxter. Baxter is still on circuit. Craig Baxter's done a fairly fast first sector, middle sector as well. So Baxter's gone, was purple in the first sector, red in the middle. Let's see, Craig Baxter's heading through turn number 13 now, so we shall see if he can set a benchmark for Kieran to go for, or if this time will be enough. Craig Baxter's going to run towards the line now. What's it going to be for Craig? It's a slight improvement by a couple of thousandths. But let's see what Kieran Chadwick can do. Round the final corner. Here comes Chadwick. The KRT is going to run towards the line. What's it going to be for Chadwick? It's second. Second only. So Craig Baxter grabs another pole position this season. He's 3/10 ahead of Kieran Chadwick, who puts himself ahead of Philip Kraus, who sits in 3rd. Jordy's Wise qualifies 4th, ahead of Tino Nelkaronen. Sam Carpenter is 6th, but will be demoted 10 places down to about 16th place.
Yep.
Scott Davidson is in 7th, which will become 6th. Evan Rice is in 8th. Chukapeka Lalu in 9th. And Tommy Ilatalo is in 10th.
This really goes to show you how important those final 2 corners are. Kieran made up 2 or 3/10 on the whole lap because of those 2 corners. Had a ton of grip, set his car up to rotate through the corner so the back end comes around just a little bit, and he is so good at throttle control that it was good and stable. It was actually quite surprising. So Kieran Chadwick, obviously throwing himself up into 2nd place, is impressive doing it the way he did it.
Well, the start of the race will be very interesting indeed, because Chadwick, starting on the ultra soft tyres, will have a grip advantage over Craig Baxter. So especially off the line, you maybe would expect Kieran Chadwick to potentially pull alongside Craig Baxter as they head into turn 1. So maybe we could see a bit of a battle for the lead in the opening stages of the race, with Chadwick starting on those ultra softs. He will pit earlier than Craig Baxter, but he will have a pace advantage for those opening laps at the very least.
And not only just the opening laps, different tires, everything else, a very tight track, sleeping policemen everywhere. These drivers are going to have a really tough race for sure, especially the first, I'd say, 5 laps or so. I mean, 49 laps of this. The first 5 laps are probably the most important, trying to sort themselves out and get themselves into a decent position to not crash, essentially.
Well, certain parts of this circuit are prone to a lot of dirty air, which really restricts the driver's ability to follow the car in front. So the 8, 9 complex, 10, 11, they are really corners that spit out a lot of hot air, a lot of dirty air, and it really prevents the drivers from being able to follow closely within a couple of tenths. So you may see gaps expand in that section of the lap, but in the heavy braking zones, traction zones, you will see the drivers start to close up who do have the pace advantage over other people. But we shall see. 49 laps. It's a very, very long race indeed for these drivers. So we shall see. But we're going to have a look at the driver.
Kind of looking at the track. Turn 1, maybe turn 12 into 13, possibly. Yeah, could be. I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, it's... God, this is a hard track.
It's a hard track. There are a few overtaking opportunities there. Turn 1, turn 2 if you're really brave with that DRS aiding you into there. Turn 6 in the first part of the chicane is always a potential overtaking spot if you get a fantastic run out of 5. Turn number 12, and then if you're incredibly brave, turn 13 and 14. If you can, if you've got a serious pace advantage of if the driver in front makes a mistake and sets sail out wide. But we are going to have a look at the drivers' standings heading into this race. Obviously, the standings then after Korea, where we had a fantastic win from Philip Kraus, the American in the Zesty racing car. So here we go, the Drivers' Championship standings. Craig Baxter still on top after what was an eventful race for him in Korea. He leads with 202 points, and he's ways away ahead of Kieran Chabak, who sits in second with 157 points, with Sam Carpenter sitting in third, 141 points for him. Philip Kraus, after that win in Korea, allows him to close up on the drivers ahead, so he's 138 points and only 3 behind Sam Carpenter. Maybe with Sam starting all the way down 16th and Philip starting in, I believe, 3rd, he'll be looking to potentially pass Sam in this race. Kenyon White, the driver who starts at the back of the grid after that incident with Craig Baxter on the opening lap of the race, he sits in 5th with 69 points, and he's ahead of Tino Nelkarainen, who, with a fantastic grid slot, will be looking to potentially even pass Kenyon White in this race. It will be a bit of a stretch, actually. He'll have to score the win to draw equal, and Kenyon has to score no points. So we shall see if Tino can do that, but you never know. He's, though, ahead by 1 point ahead of Evan Rice, who sits in 7th for KRT. Scott Davidson for Defiant sits in 8th with 38 points, and he's just 2 points ahead of Tommy Ilatalo, who sits in 9th for Royal Blue Racing, and Jacob Reed, who's not racing today, sits in 10th in the Drivers' Championship standings with 20 points for Stupid Motorsports.
Callum Roberts sitting 11th. Don't believe I saw him in the lineup today.
Not today.
Yeah, Brandon O'Henlin has had a few races missed. He's only got 15 points here, sitting in 12th. Had some solid runs throughout the series, but unfortunately, he just needs to improve more than anything. Ross Woodford, who is here today, I believe starting 14th.
Yes.
Actually sits 13th in the points. He's missed a few races as well. That's why he's a little bit low. David Peshkovsky, 14th, is here today as well.
Starting last and 21st.
Yep, starting last or second to last, I believe, because Kenyon should start back at grid. Hard to tell. Depends.
David's also got a back grid. So.
He does.
Kenyon starting 20th. David's starting 21st.
How did I miss that memo? What in the world? Anyways. But yeah, so he's starting 14th. And Jordy's Wire's 15th. He's more or less a newcomer here. He's had a lot of races missed, and then that big crash in Korea where he had a ton of speed. He'll be looking to improve and sort of prove that he belongs here. Yeah, not so great for Jordy, but he's looking very strong here. Yeah,
so it will be interesting to see a lot of battles there in the midfield, and drivers who probably are out of position, as there are newcomers to the league who do have some serious pace. Geordie's Wise sits pretty low in the championship, but in terms of the pace here at this race, you'd say he's potentially on for a podium if you can keep it all together, like he has been in the past couple of races. So Geordie joins the league, and he's fairly on the pace fairly early, so it's good to see. But we shall move to the Constructors' Championship standings with Defiant sitting on top with 240 points, and they're just 30 points ahead of Sabre Racing, who sit in second place. Obviously, with Sabre starting pretty low on the grid, Kenyon 20th and Sam 16th, it'll be very difficult for them to try and outscore Defiance today. KRC sit 10 points behind Sabre Racing with 200 points exactly, a nice round figure there for KRT. They'll be looking to get some fantastic points with both drivers starting in the top 10. Zesty Racing sit in fourth with 142 points, and they're sort of in a bit of a no man's land at the moment. They're 58 points behind KRT, but then they're quite a ways ahead of ACR Zaxpeed, who sit in fifth with 58 points. They're just 3 points, though, ahead of Royal Blue. So it'll be Ross Woodford and Tin and Nel Karainen versus Tommy Ilatalo today to see who will get more points out of those two teams. Stupid Motorsports, with no drivers here today, they sit in seventh with 21 points, and they're only 4 points ahead of Visceral Sim Racing, who I believe have got Chukapeka Lalu taking place today. Taking place in the team. They sit with eighth with 17 points. 1 point behind them, though, is Drillers Motorsport, the Dutch team, sitting in ninth. They've got no one here today, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see if Chukapeka can score some points and move the team and give them a little bit of breathing space ahead of Drillers Motorsport. But then 1 point behind Drillers, it's Wolf Racing with David Puskovsky, the only driver from Wolf Racing taking part today. There's 10th with 15 points. It'll be very, very difficult for them to add to that tally with Puskovsky starting 21st, but hey, you never know.
Yeah, that's the thing. You never know. And some of these teams only have the one driver here. And I think a lot of drivers might be a little bit hesitant to come to this track, mostly because of the track itself. It is a very, very demanding track. One lapse in concentration can become, well, a world of hurt and the end of your race. A couple of the drivers had mentioned that, hitting those sleeping policemen, hitting those sausage barriers can literally jerk the wheel out of your hands if you're not careful. So, it is one of those things. This track is definitely not for the weak of heart. And maybe some drivers are just like, maybe I'll take the day off.
Well, obviously the World Cup taking place, France beating Argentina in the round of 16 clash, and they move ahead now. They'll face, I believe, the winner of Portugal and Uruguay. But enough of the World Cup. We'll focus on today's race here at the Hungaroring. But it'll be interesting to see. I think
we've got our World Cup coverage in. That's enough.
We spoke about that. Let's move on. But I think that the real danger zones for the drivers will be turns 1, turns 2, and turns 4 in the opening lap, because when you got a gaggle of cars so close together, it's going to be quite easy for them to make contact. And so if you've got someone that's going to be audacious and try and dive up on the inside into turn 2, you could see them drift out and collide with someone on the outside. And especially with turn 4, such a blind and fast corner, people braking at different points, you may see a collision or two into there. But we shall see. I'm probably expecting that to be more towards the back of the grid, with drivers like Sam Carpenter, Keen White trying to dice their way through the field here on the opening lap of the race. So we shall see as we're approaching the start of the race, as the warm-up timer is clicking down. Mhm. Well, here we are, 49 laps of this Hungaroring circuit. The drivers will be waiting to start the formation lap as the clock clicks down before they're going to be on the grid and ready to start the formation lap before they get underway. The drivers will be just getting their final checks before they go out into the grid, what tyres they're starting on, how much fuel they're going with. Fuel won't be as much of a problem, I wouldn't think, at this circuit, but we shall see. Kieran Chadwick starting in fourth place, but Craig Baxter is leading the field. He starts from pole position. He's actually gone back to the garage, so we shall see.
That's very odd.
We may be getting a restart here. I think Arjun Van Putten had a technical issue, so we may be we're getting a start aborted. So we're going to have a restart here because
grid messed
Arjun
up.
Van
Okay.
Putten. Yep.
Yeah, that's an rFactor problem. Unfortunately, that happens from time to time, where, for some reason the start file that the server uses, it's literally a text file. For some reason, it will either corrupt, or rFactor doesn't read it properly, or sometimes it's a little bit of a mistake, and it basically breaks the game. It forces it'll make the game do all kinds of weird things. Start lights can go weird. There's no warm up lap, whatever. We've even had races, not here, but I've had races where the race suddenly just starts and we're all on our formation lap, like halfway around the track, and there's suddenly your spotters yelling green, 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 and everyone's like, do we take off? Do we go? Yeah, it's really weird. So good call by Craig, and I believe that was, who else jumped out? There was somebody else that jumped out and realized that oh yeah, Kieran, that's right. Realized that it got all messed up. They jumped out and got the drivers to go back to the pits and reset back to warm up.
Yeah, so we'll, it's just a simple fix, but just delaying the start slightly. Get everyone in, get everyone ready, get the grid set.
Oh,
and
Sam
then we'll
jumped
be back
out too. That's right.
well. So
the nice part about this particular simulation racing series is that the people that run the server, the people that know how to change things, are actually in the race. They are racing, so they see what's going on at the same time. There are a lot of series that don't do that. They don't allow their admins to race. They don't allow things like that. There are certain rules in place here to make sure that there is no unfairness going on. Except for Craig Baxter and his massive amounts of boost that he gets, Kappa. I'm joking. He is actually this fast. Calm down, people. Jeez.
But yes, we'll be waiting for the grid to be set again. The obviously we started slightly early today, an hour earlier than planned, because again the World Cup getting in the way of our prestigious event. We've decided to start early so we don't take viewership away from the World Cup, because everyone's watching the Hungary race. But we got to have a little bit of a shout out. It's actually Philip Krause's birthday today, so he a present from AOR and the rest of the league might be for him to win and take his third win of the season, but we shall see.
Yeah, I have a feeling Craig Baxter and Tino might have something to say about that.
Yeah, a birthday bash. They're not gonna.
Oh,
Well
there'll
done,
be a
yes, it is your
bash.
birthday. Yeah. I hope we're not foreshadowing anything here. That might be very. Just into turn one, they both go round. But no, we shall see.
So the grid is starting to be reset. I'm trying to figure out exactly what happened here. Oh, it didn't. Okay, I see. I see what happened.
So yes, we're just waiting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so if you haven't, get your cup of teas ready and your biscuits and everything before we start the race, because it's going to be a long one, 49 laps of the Hungarian circuit. Yeah, we shall see. Strategy wise, I heard rumblings from Tino before saying, "Oh yes, it's going to be a one stop, easy onto a set of mediums, and then to the end." And everyone reminded him, actually, Tino, you can't use the mediums. And so he's like, "Oh, I have no idea then." So we shall see. We shall see.
Didn't realize this was an endurance race. What?
Yep, we're putting on the super
No.
hards. We're going for 15 hours.
Yeah, we don't need any more
Yes.
endurance racing, I think, on this channel.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I think I'm still recovering, to be brutally honest. But
Same.
we shall see. As we're now going to the start of the race.
49 laps around this track is going to be absolutely brutal. At a minute 18, per lap, this could be. Oh boy, it could be a very, very quick race, or it could be a very, very slow race. Depends on the safety cars.
Safety cars are a potential. They're probably not as likely as we saw in Monte Carlo, but because of the amount of runoff. But if the track is blocked, we will see a safety car. But we shall see as the drivers now going to be starting their formation lap. It's Craig Baxter with another pole position this season for Defiance Racing. He is ahead of Kieran Chadwick for KRT. Philip Kraus, the Zesty Racing driver, the birthday boy himself, lined up in third place ahead of Geordie's Wires for VD Sport. Tino Nokarainen, he starts fifth.
Scott Davison, sixth place, a fantastic showing for him. Evan Rice with the move up in seventh for KRT. Chukapeka Lalu, eighth place, not a bad showing for him. Tommy Yilatala for Royal Blue, and Brandon O'Henlin in 10th. A good start out for him.
Yeah, just outside the top 10 is the other Zesty Racing car of Nick Brackey, who will be free to start on whatever compound he chooses. He's starting on the super soft tyres. Kevin Cox for Vulcan Racing, the leading Vulcan, starts in 12th ahead of Ross Woodford for ACR Zack Speed. The other Vulcan Racing car, Max Shepard, he starts in 14th place ahead of Kevin Turner for Thrive Esports.
The Sabre of Sam Carpenter in 16th place. He had a penalty. He did qualify for 6th, but with a 10th place penalty, he will end up in 16th. Dominic Lambrex, 17th. Not a great showing for him, but he'll be looking to improve. Asger Hebsgaard, haven't really seen that name too much lately. He'll end up 18th, and probably one of the hardest tracks that he's been on this season. Arjun Van Putten is 19th. Kean White, with that massive penalty from Korea, will put him at back of grid, and the same for David Peshkovsky, 21st on the back row.
Yeah, so those two drivers got a lot of work to do. We actually noticed that both Sam and Keane had one of their best races of the season when they both started at the back of the grid. So we shall see. In Turkey, they started both last and second last, and they ended up with, I think, fourth and fifth in the end. So we shall see what they can do. Obviously, Turkey is a bit easier to overtake in comparison to the Hungary ring, but we shall see as Craig Baxter's lining up in his grid slot, pole position. Obviously, didn't get pole last time out in Korea, but Kieran Chadwick will be on the inside for turn one if he can pull ahead with those ultra soft tyres that he's starting on in comparison to Craig Baxter's super soft. So we shall see.
It's super soft versus ultra soft.
Yeah, we'll see. We now wait for the 5 red lights for the drivers to slot into the grid slots as we now build towards the 5 red lights. It's lights out, and away we go here in Hungary. It's a fairly good start there from Kieran Chadwick. He's going to be side by side with Craig Baxter as they head now down towards turn number 1. Let's see, he's going to break latest between the two. Craig Baxter's going to try and go around the outside. Chadwick's going to try and he's going to hold it. He's going to take the lead here at Turkey. It's Chadwick ahead of Baxter. Now Garainen and Kraus are going to go side by side now into turn number 2. Philip Kraus on the inside. Now Garainen's going to try and hold it around the outside. They're still going to be side by side as they head into turn number 3. Now Garainen, I think, has hold on and he's pushed Philip Kraus wide. So it's Kieran Chadwick who leads ahead of Craig Baxter. Tino now Garainen up to 3rd. Philip Kraus now down to 4th with Evan Rice up to 5th place. What a fantastic start for him.
Jordy's Wires ended up 6th place throughout the kerfuffle. He's just trying to keep his nose clean at this point. He's got a little bit of a march ahead of him with a good, well, not a great start, I should say, but he is really determined to this race. He wants to make a good impression with the rest of these drivers.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic start there for Kieran Chadwick. He leads here. Lap 1 of 49 here at the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix. We shall see if Craig Baxter will bother to catch up or if he will just hold station. But now Karainen up to 3rd. A fantastic start for him to put himself ahead of Philip Kraus. But Evan Rice, who started 7th, now up to 5th. A fantastic getaway from him. Let's see where the Sabres are. Sam Carpenter already up to 11th, so he started 16th, already up to 11. Nick Bracky's just behind him, so he's only lost 1 place off the start. But we shall see as we complete lap 1. It's Chadwick ahead of Baxter, ahead of Nalkarainen, ahead of Kraus. Rice, Swires, Davidson, Ilatalo, Lalu, Henlin complete the top 10. As Sam Carpenter's going to go up on the inside into turn number 1 for P10, and he makes the move. Stick is now up into 10th place and now into the points. And he's got a bit of work ahead if he wants to get up where his competitors are, but he's in a pretty good position to do so.
He's running the soft tires too. He's not going ultra soft, so he's got a decent amount of grip. That's all car setup there. The way he's sticking through these corners through this dirty air is absolutely fantastic. He has found some insane mechanical grip. Not to mention, this is where he sort of shines. Sam Carpenter is an absolute beast behind the wheel, and when he's got to come through the field like this, it really starts to come through to the fore.
Yeah, we're just looking at the front here. Craig Baxter holding. He's fairly close to Kieran Chadwick. I was sort of trying to think of how we could describe it, but he's 7 tenths behind as they head through turn number 13 and through now what is the final corner to complete lap 2 of 49 here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Craig, obviously on the super soft tyres, a compound harder, so less grip and less lap time. He'll be fairly confident in the fact that and fairly happy with the fact that he is managing to hold at the moment behind Kieran Chadwick in the way that he is. So we shall see as the race goes on how that will go, but all 21 drivers seem to have got through fairly unscathed. As I say that, Arjun Van Putten is in the pit lane. And out of the race. So we've lost one. We've got 1 casualty from the race, Arjun Van Putten, but 20 drivers still racing here at Hungary as we're on lap 3. We'll see if there's any other battles going on in the midfield as the top sort of 8 is sort of starting to set into a rhythm. Jukka-Pekka Lalu currently under assault from Sam Carpenter, who's sitting in P10. Let's see if we can go on board with the British driver heading into the chicane turns number 6 and 7. Fairly close is Carpenter to the back of the fin in Lalu. Let's see if he'd be close enough to make a move potentially into turn number 12 as he heads to 11. Now he's got to make sure he doesn't understeer out wide and lose time, and I think he's done exactly that. Won't be looking to make a dive bomb move into 12. No, he's smarter than that. There's a whole race to go, not just this lap. But he is angling though, is Carpenter, for a move. He might get better traction here. Let's see if Sam might make a move here into turn 14. No, he's clever, and he's not going to do that. We're on lap 4 of this Hungarian Grand Prix. He's going to have DRS, his Carpenter, on Lalu, I believe. He's in the slipstream. He's gaining rapidly. He's going to pull to the inside. Carpenter, though, is going to make the move stick into turn 1, and now Sam Carpenter up into 9th place and on a charge from what was 16th on the grid.
Yeah, Sam being very, very patient, just filling up Lalu's mirrors, making sure that Jukka-Pekka knew that Carpenter was right there looking for the pass, and an absolutely perfect pass through turn 1. Sam is dicing through this field. He's managing, I think he's averaging probably 4 positions per lap. Now, granted, that's going to slow down. Obviously, he's starting to get into the much faster people. Tommy Ilatalo is ahead of him now, and he's not gaining on Tommy that quickly. This is going to take a little bit of work now.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if they can close up. The gaps are fairly close. I was just looking. Kenyon White is fairly close to Kevin Cox. Kenyon White hasn't had quite the same impact as Carpenter. He's sitting in 15th at the moment.
Kenyon still have his input issues. Let's see here. Looks like he's starting to clean that up, but I think this is a good race to sort of practice a lot of the things that you need to work on. And Kenyon knew that he had a penalty to serve. I think he just wants to keep his nose clean more than anything. Kind of back to the beginning of the season, show that he can make great passes. Let the admins know that he's a safe driver. He's aggressive, and he's a young kid. So it brings a lot of spice to the series, and he's more than welcome to be here, of course. But I think Kenyon just wants to kind of get through this one more than anything. But he's here, he's racing, and I have to admit, he's been taking some notes from a lot of the more seasoned drivers here, because this car looks very, very stable. This looks great.
He does have to be careful, as he's got to have some real mature drives here for pretty much the rest of the season, as he is approaching a race ban with the amount of penalty points that he has accumulated so far in the season, obviously picking up 4 for the incidents in Korea. Craig Baxter, he was at fault for the first part of the sort of gaggle of incidents between the two of them. Craig Baxter picked up 2 penalty points, but Kenyon there picked up 4 due to a couple of incidents afterwards. But that now puts him on notice. He's 1 incident away from a race ban, so he's got to be aware of that.
Lead change.
Lead change?
Lead change.
Well, they are battling. Craig Baxter going to try and pull the cut off. Cut back here as they're going to go side by side now into turn number 2. Craig Baxter has pulled ahead of Kieran Chadwick. Kieran Chadwick, those give up. Lock up from Craig Baxter is going to allow Kieran Chadwick to close up a little bit more. DRS, though, I would have assumed would have played a part there. They are closing the third and fourth have closed up quite a bit on the leading pack, so we could see a 4-car battle here, 4 different teams battling for the lead here in a couple of laps, unless Craig Baxter, who's now in the lead of the race, might start to pull away.
And there's one guy that wants to see just that. It's Jordy's Wires in 5th.
Jordy's Wires sitting in 5th at the moment. He's got past Evan Rice again, because he was down in 6th, so somewhere on the lap, Jordy's Wires has now pulled ahead of Evan Rice.
Kind of cycling through the top 4 right now. Craig Baxter does have those super softs on. I have a feeling that Kieran's ultra softs have started to degrade already. I mean, 5 laps of this place it's tough on the tires, especially if you don't have the car exactly set up and you're trying to stay ahead of the fastest guy in this series, arguably. I'd be willing to bet that those tires are starting to go away already, and he's just trying to stretch them out at this point.
Yeah, I think you'll just be trying to open up your strategy, trying to be as dynamic as possible. As we've got Absker Hebsgaard, 19th, coming into the pit lane.
Yep, he's out.
He's out of the race, so he's retired. Absker Hebsgaard is out of the race. Dominic Lambrix, quite a ways behind, actually, sitting in 20th place at the moment. He is a lap down, I believe, already. So Dominic struggling so far in this race here on lap number 7 of this Hungarian Grand Prix. Let's have a look. We've got a bit of a gaggle of cars here, led by Nick Brackey, who sits in 11th at the moment. We've got Brackey, O'Henlon, Shepherd, Cox, and Kenyon White, all involved here, all battling for what is 11th place in the race, and they're all really, really going at it here. A lot of different compounds of tyres. Kenyon White on the supers, Kevin Cox on the softs, Max Shepherd, I believe, on the ultras. O'Henlon, he's a bit far away from the camera to be able to determine what tyres those are. I think they're super softs, yeah, they are, and the same for Brackey. So we shall see if Kenyon White actually might be looking to potentially make a move here into turn number 12. Sorry, not close enough though this time round for Kenyon White. But with that grip advantage over Kevin Cox, he will be able to close up a bit and potentially make his way up through the field. Not as we said, to go on board with Kenyon White, we can see that he is closing. DRS is activated, but car ahead also has DRS, so it sort of negates the effects. No. Unfortunately for poor Kenyon there, he was going to go for the move, but at the same time, Kevin was also going for the move on the car ahead. So it was just bad timing and bad luck there from Kenyon White, who probably would have made the move stick had Kevin Cox not wanted to make a move on his teammate ahead of him. So Kenyon, he's got to have patience. He's got to know the fact that, yes, Kevin is going to want to make a move on his teammate, as he also is looking fairly racy in comparison to the cars ahead, as Max Shepard goes very wide there through turn number 5. We'll see.
Has to be really careful right now. He could be a touch heated because I don't think Cox had much of a line on Max Shepard at that point. And Kenyon, he's a really smart kid. He knows his racecraft for sure. And he gets a little aggressive at times, but that right there was a big one. And the way that he positioned his car kind of forced him into the line that he was in. There was no way to really get out of it, especially if Cox had stayed at the line that Kenyon thought that he was going to take. So yeah, we're kind of keeping an eye on Kenyon a little bit, and we might be nitpicking a touch, but that was a fantastic save to be able, and with the fronts all locked up like that. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Well, let's see. It's going to be round 2. He's going to be in the DRS this time if Rice has come to the pit lane. But we shall focus here. Kenyon White not with a fantastic exit, so it hasn't allowed him to close up on the pack ahead. The Vulcans are battling here. Max Shepard with a big slide. That's going to allow Kevin Cox to move past. Let's see if Kenyon White might also make a move on Max Shepard. He gets very close indeed. Max Shepard seems to be struggling on those ultra soft tyres. Lap 9 of 49 here at Hungary. Let's see if Kenyon can be close enough to make a move on Max Shepard. Max Shepard struggling with tyre wear. A bit of pace at the moment. We shall see. Evan Rice comes out back onto the track in what is 17th place in the race. Evan has struggled with tyre wear throughout the season, and this race is no different, but he'll be doing something a bit different with the strategy, you would imagine. Probably going on the soft compound tyre to really propel him fairly far into the race, and then towards the end might be able to do something a bit different with strategy. But Max Shepard there scrubbing tyres through turn number 11. Kenyon, they're not able to close, so Kenyon seems to be struggling. Max Shepard, though, is struggling, going about 90 degrees into every single corner, almost flick-spinning the car into every single apex, but we shall see.
Scandinavian flick. Easy.
A Scandinavian flick, yep.
Yep, that's all he's trying to do, yeah. It's a little bit of style here at the F1.
It's, as Kieran Chadwick and Nick Brackey come into the pit lane as well, so Kieran, who was on those ultra-soft tyres, has come into the pit lane. Max Shepard, though, setting sail on exit, and there's an engine fire there for Brandon O'Hanlon. That is, I believe that was Brandon O'Hanlon it was Brandon O'Hanlon. He's burst his engine and he's out of this race. That was very, very, very dangerous there for the drivers behind. And Kenyon has...
we would actually see that.
And Kevin Cox has gone off the circuit as well. It's all kicking off here at the Hungaroring as the engine explodes. It's the fireworks that start the party. Kenyon White's gained almost 2 positions here. He actually has gained 2 positions.
Oh, this is bad.
Oh, but across the curb he goes. And he's sent Kevin Cox out wide, and Max Shepard's going to come up on the inside again. So this is action aplenty here for these 3 drivers. Obviously, O'Hanlon combusting and exploding his engine there on the run down towards turn 2. It's allowed Kenyon White to make up a place or 2 and then lose a couple as Max Shepard's now going to pull ahead. Kevin Cox will be fairly ropeable, you would imagine, with that move as Kenyon is... that's not the circuit. Kenyon, that's he's set sail there off on the exit of turn number 12.
We should mention that through those chicanes 6 and 7, Kenyon was beside, I believe it was Cox on that one.
Yeah, it was audacious moves. I think it was very audacious.
It was audacious. You know, it was audacious, but I would disagree completely if there was a penalty applied to that move because he was already there. Kenyon was already there. He was there for 2 corners. There's no reason why he shouldn't have been given some room.
Yeah,
but instead he had to go over the sleeping policeman because he got forced out. All I'm saying is, if Ian gets a penalty on this one, if there was a penalty for that whole segment of racing, there should be some anger because there would be no reason why any of that should have been penalized. I mean, it's straight up racing. These guys have been dueling it out for pretty much 8 of the 10 laps. So I'm sorry, guys. That one's full-blown racing incident. It is unfortunate Kenyon was involved in it. Of course, we have our eyes on him a little bit, but doesn't matter. Full-blown racing incident.
As I was just looking at, Sam Carpenter has moved his way up into 5th place ahead of Scott Davidson. So Sam, who started 16th, has moved up 11 places so far in this race, obviously with people on different strategies, as Sam Carpenter comes into the pit lane now. I was looking at Kenyon White because he peeled into the pit lane there. I wanted to see if he's going to try the undercut on both Cox and Shepard, getting clean air and then move ahead of those two drivers and put him into the top 10 by doing so potentially. But Yilatalo, Lalu, and Carpenter all in the pit lane. Shepard as well comes into the pit lane, so it'll be interesting to see where he peels out if he comes out behind Kenyon White.
Oh no, he won't. Keane's flying.
But as we can see, Sam Carpenter and David Puskovsky battling for P9. Puskovsky there almost got the position on Carpenter. Carpenter, though, comes out the pit lane just ahead of David in the Wolf Racing car. Kenyon White, though, in 12th, as we've got a gaggle of cars. We've got Lalu going up on the inside of Turner into turn number 2, and Lalu makes the move stick as Bracky sits in 12th, just behind Tommy Latalo. But I did see there that Kenyon White has come out away ahead of Max Shepard, so the undercut has worked there for the Irish driver, and he's now up into 15th place.
And he's just looks like the new tires are exactly what he needed. The car's sticking much better.
There's an incident involving a lap car. I think it's Dominic Lambrix and Geordie Zwires have come to blows down towards turn number 12. So Zwires was round. He'll be coming to the pit lane, you'd imagine, this lap, and there seems to be a fair bit of steering damage on that car. So another incident for Zwires, unfortunately, has resulted in what seems to be a fair bit of damage. So we shall see as the top 4 coming to the pit lane. Craig Baxter have come out of the pit lane exit. He leads this race, but it's going to be close here between Nelkarainen and Chadwick. Nelkarainen with colder tyres has come out just ahead of Kieran Chadwick. So Chadwick, unfortunately, has lost a place there and lost what is second place in this race, as Philip Krause has just come out ahead of Kevin Cox, Kevin Cox yet to pit. Kevin Cox are looking very racy so far. We shall see if he can make a move there on those old soft tyres in comparison to what is Philip's brand new soft tyre. I think they're soft tyre. No, they're super soft tyres. So Philip on a set of oh no, they are softs. My apologies, they are softs. Yeah, so brand new set of soft tyres there for Philip Krause. Craig Baxter set of softs as well, as followed by Nelkarainen and Chadwick. They on a set of supers. And yeah, Krause on a set of softs, followed by Kevin Cox, who is yet to pit. So he's the one out of position at the moment. So we shall see Evan Rice probably slot into 5th place once that happens, with Zwires all the way down in 13th now after that first stop.
It looks like Lambrex has decided to call it as he parked it basically on the track. But Zwires, yeah, down in 13th. He's going to have to kind of calm down a little bit, I think. I know he was looking to have a strong showing, and the first 10 laps were absolutely fantastic, but tangled a bit with the lap car. He's got a little bit of the Craig Baxter syndrome, I think, going on here at the Hungaroring.
Oh, I'm just watching Lambrix is really starting to struggle. I think he should just park the car up and box. He's out of the race now. So as Kevin Turner, 15th place, comes into the pit lane, which means that Kenyon White's going to be promoted up to 14th. Geordie Zwires in 13th. So these two probably have a bit of a battle because they are fairly similar in pace. As we've got a gaggle of cars ahead, my goodness me. Nick Bracky sitting in 11th place is battling both Puskovsky and Yilatalo for these points positions, as Lalu is going to come up behind this battle as well. So making it a 4-car train for what is P9 in this race. Nick Bracky, though, has got the pace here on Puskovsky, so we shall see as Puskovsky goes wide there through turn number 5. Let's see if Bracky's going to be close enough to make a move.
Do it.
No, he's not close enough this time, but I'll tell you who's getting incredibly close. It's Lalu behind. So Bracky here has got to make a decision. Pass Pashkovsky ahead or be passed by Lalu behind. So I think I know which one he'll want to go for, but we've got to see if he can make the move stick.
I think he's got 3 decisions to make. Bracky is all over the track right now. He's pushing very, very hard. He needs to determine if he wants to save those tires a little bit and just force Pashkovsky into a mistake. We've seen Pashkovsky make a few mistakes here and there, especially in previous races when he gets a little bit flustered. So really, I think all it could take for Bracky is a nice run into turn 1, which will require an exit, a really great exit coming out of the last corner. Although Bracky up on the inside, here we go, locks it up a little bit. Pashkovsky has to correct it, and Lalu will follow him through. Pashkovsky losing 2 positions and is now out of the points with Geordie lurking behind. Oh, there he goes up to the inside too.
Oh, what a maneuver there from Geordie's was opportunistic at the best.
The car control by Geordie, though.
That was very optimistic, and it was great opportunism there from Geordie's Wires to just see the gap and go for it. And he moves himself up into 11th place in this race on the cusp of the points. As that battle was happening, I saw that Kevin Cox has pitted. He's come out in 15th place behind the battle pack that he was involved with White and Shepherd.
Bracky, though, I think is going to have to sort of watch those track limits. He might pick up a bit of a penalty, though. He's been all over with 4 wheels off the track a couple of times. And I do know that during the driver's meeting, there is a couple places where you're allowed to do that. But Bracky has been pushing the envelope, I think. I don't think he's really gained too much time, per se. It's more like he's just forcing mistakes out of the other drivers. But, at some point, you got to stop doing that,
Craig Baxter, he's checked out. He's 4.3 seconds ahead of Tino Nel Corona now as Bushkovsky comes into the pit lane in what is 14th place. He'll probably be promoted, you would imagine, towards the back of the pack after serving his first stop of this race. We're on lap 16 of 49 of this Hungarian Grand Prix. So we shall see. The battle I'm interested in is what is going on with Zwires, because he will be the driver that will be looking really threatening because he's got pace over the people that are in front of him. Zwires, I was right, he's behind Lalu and he's closing rapidly as they head through turn number 5 now up towards the chicane. Will Zwires be bold enough to make a move into the chicane? No, he's clever. He's not going to be crazy enough to do that. But maybe through into turn number 12 potentially after the heavy braking zone, after that short back straight. We shall see as they head through turn number 11 now. Is Zwires run good enough to close up on Lalu? No, not this time round. It's not close enough to make a move, but I think it depends really here if Lalu will get DRS on Bracky, if the effective DRS will be strong enough for Zwires to make a move on Lalu, as we've got Kenyon White closing up on them as well as time goes on, because these two are slowing each other down, and Kenyon is in some clean air at the moment, going for it. But here comes Geordie's Wires. Will he make a move up on the inside into turn number 1? No, he thinks better of it and just closes the gap slightly as we go on board with the Dutch driver now for VD Sport. Heading into turn number 2, Lalu keeping his head and doesn't make a mistake that you probably would expect from a driver under this much pressure, both forward and behind, as Kenyon White is closing up on those drivers. We shall.
Big close up there.
Yeah, we'll see if Swires is he's sort of baiting Lalu. Am I going to make a move? Am I not? And he's sort of making Lalu very aware of the fact that he's there, and he's going to make a move when he does make a mistake or when he's ready. But he's going to be aware that Georgie's going to have to make the move fairly soon, you'd imagine, because every corner that goes by, Kenyon White closes up that slight amount with pretty much every single corner that goes by. So we shall see. I would maybe expect the move probably onto the main straight into turn number 1 this time round, you would think.
Yeah, I
and
would
moving
have to agree with
into the
that.
points.
Yeah, but he's going to have to get a massive exit out of this corner, and he's had a problem with the last corner on this track. He hasn't been able to get the speed command it, although
Here he comes. It's actually Lalu making a move on Bracky, and that's now going to open himself to Zwires on Lalu. Here comes Geordie's Wires. Big snap of oversteer there for Zwires on exit, which means that he's not able to pass Lalu into turn number 3. That allows Kenyon White again to close up that little bit more as they head now onto lap 18 of this Hungarian Grand Prix. Heading through turn number 4, a blind corner. Zwires goes off the circuit by an absolute country mile. Doesn't lose too much time though in comparison to Lalu. But as we said, every lap that goes by, that sky blue car behind gets ever so brighter and ever so closer.
You mean that one that's constantly waving a sword around?
Waving a sword around, yep. He wants battle. He wants to do battle with absolutely everyone.
Speaking of Sabre Racing though, I mean, looking super strong.
It's a good showing. Sam Carpenter, I was going to say he's up to 5th, but he's been demoted to 6th. So.
I mean, we were going to give him praise, and then he puts himself off the track. Okay. Thanks, bud.
It's the commentator's curse, but we can see Philip Kraus is closing up on Kieran Chadwick, so Kieran's struggling for a bit in this race. Nelka Reinen sitting in second, but 6 seconds ahead, it's Craig Baxter who leads this Hungarian Grand Prix on lap 19 of. But I've actually Lalo and Bracky, the battle we've all been waiting for. It's heating
Oh,
up.
here we go! Wheel to wheel!
Lalo's going to try and go around the outside into turn number 3. Bracky's going to give him the space, but they're going to still be side by side. Oh no, here we go. Up
here
towards
comes
turn
Wires.
Wires wants to make, but Lalo's going to try and hold it around the outside. He goes off the circuit. Will he keep the position? I think Bracky will be arguing that he shouldn't. He gives it up, which is probably smart there from the Finnish driver. But here comes Kenyon White. So this gaggle of cars, we've got orange versus red versus green versus blue as they head now into turn number 8. I think everything should calm down now for these sweeping corners before we head towards turns number 11 and 12.
No, nothing's calm right now.
Bracky, though, he's trying to escape as quickly as possible as Lalu is going to be all under a heap of pressure here from Geordie Zwires because Zwires knows that White is coming up behind, so he's got to be careful that he doesn't get caught out. He doesn't get past as Lalu sitting on the cusp of the point, sitting in 10th place at the moment, the final point available today, as Shepherd is closing up on this battle as well. So we could have a 5-car battle here for the final points. We've got a car backwards there. That's Yelatalo in the wall, so they're all going to be promoted up a place. Yelatalo's lost his front wing, and that might be him out of the race. Probably on the exit curb, he spun around. But here comes Geordie Zwires up on the inside. No, he thinks better of it. Smart there from the Dutch driver. Let's see if he'll make a move into turn number 2. No, I think they're all just going to settle down. Actually, Lalu closes up massively there on Bracky. And that's Evan Rice ahead of them as well. So Evan Rice may have been involved with Yelatalo as he seems to have lost a fair bit of time, which could make this a 6-way battle for what will be 7th place in the race in a couple of laps' time if we keep going the way we are at the moment. Is he? Oh, Lalu's looking threatening. Oh, and there was contact, and there's Geordie Zwires has lost his front wing. Zwires round, and I think would be out of this Hungarian Grand Prix. He got caught out by how early Lalu broke, and Geordie Zwires out of this race. Another retirement to add to his collection, unfortunately, of DNFs this season. So we've lost the green car from this battle, but it's been replaced by what is another red car coming up behind. Max Shepherd looking threatening here in this race. But it's Bracky ahead. So I was just looking there. Kraus and Chadwick seem to be exchanging positions. 3rd and 4th. Let's go back up towards the front of the pack here. We can see that Kraus is ahead of Chadwick. They are looking fairly close as well. So we'll be interested to see if Chadwick will be able to move forward. Obviously, with Kraus on the set of soft tyres, is a compound harder and slower than Kieran Chadwick. So we shall see what will happen with those two. But
we've had a report
Evan
from
Rice.
the garage.
Oh,
Actually, Brandon O'Henlin, the man who blew his engine up, set the whole car on fire, melted down the carbon fiber, and literally blew the wheels off of it. No, I'm kidding. He hit the neutral button.
Oh, the forced neutral, blow the engine. It's the old classic, really. Retirement. But I was just seeing Kenyon White has moved ahead of Jukka-Pekka Lalu, so Lalu losing places here, still in 10th after what happened with Zwires, but Max Shepherd's now closing up and be looking to pounce on Jukka-Pekka Lalu in the Vulcan racing car. So Vulcan looking good here, sitting at 11th and 12th, looking potentially for their second points. Oh, I say that, Max Shepherd's just gone round. Max Shepherd off and round and into the wall. There's going to be a change of positions there between the Vulcan. They probably didn't plan it, I wouldn't think. But here comes David Puskovsky, so watch out, Max Shepherd. Here comes David Puskovsky. Puskovsky's going to go up on the inside, and he almost loses it, but he keeps the position up into 12th place.
A little sprint car action there, I think. I think Max Shepherd's tires they have to be done, absolutely done. I mean, he's running,
continuing soldiering on.
So
Evan Rice
keeps on going.
Evan Rice to come into the pit lane, sitting in 11th place at the moment. Will be passed by these two cars. You'd imagine, unless he comes out ahead, and he's going to just slightly, is the American driver, into 11th place in this Grand Prix. So we shall see. As we've got the last of the current runners is Ross Woodford sitting in 15th place. So 15 cars still in the race. We've lost 6 so far.
We did kind of wonder how many cars we were going to lose today with this very, very tight track. And, these drivers, they don't like to just follow. They love to race. And this track does not lend itself well to extremely hard racing. You have to be very, very smart in how you attack this track and how you attack your competitors, so you don't take each other out more than anything, as evidenced there by Jordy, and I believe it was a Lalu who were battling there.
Yeah,
But
I can just see
Carpenter
it.
and Sam Davison getting very close. This could be the battle for 5th.
Yeah, Scott and Sam, the two S's, they're going at it. Sam, who started 16th, he's sitting at 6th. He'll be looking, though, to move up into 5th place as Nick Brackey comes into the pit lane. Let's see if we can go on board with Sam Carpenter potentially sitting in 6th place. He is looking threatening on Scott Davidson as Nick Brackey, as I said, come into the pit lane for Zesty Racing for his second stop in this race. Lap 23 of 49 here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Sam Carpenter on soft tyres, same for Scott Davidson, so the compounds will be fairly equal. It'll just be down to setup and pace as Sam skips across the grass there. Didn't lose as much time as you probably would have expected after taking a trip off the circuit, but he seems to be all under control. He's got to make sure he doesn't lose too much time through these sweeping corners with the dirty air ahead of him, because if you do that, you really put yourself out of contention for a DRS move down into turn number 1.
Yeah, but he's got to get a little bit closer, I think. The front stretch isn't as long as you think it is, and if he doesn't get the exit he needs coming out of the last corner here, as Kieran goes into the pits. Oh, Davison got a big wiggle there. That could open it up here for Sam Carpenter. Sam's got the DRS going. He is closing up hard. Yeah,
He'll have another dosage of DRS here as he heads down through the run to turn 2. Big step of oversteer there from Sam Carpenter. The Sabre driver struggling here on the set of soft compound tyres. Into turn number 2 though, there's no chance of a manoeuvre. Not like what we saw from Geordie's Wires with an opportunistic move. A couple of laps to go, but he's unfortunately out of this race. Carpenter though, heading in as Max Shepherd comes into the pit lane as well. He'll come out, you would imagine, down towards the back of the pack. He is at the moment. As I think Woodford is the last of the current runners, unless he is also retired from the race. But Max Shepherd comes out in 14th place, so 14th for Mac. A few places behind his teammate, but we've got Sam Carpenter here, still plugging away, still behind Scott Davison, but is looking like he could potentially make a move. So we've got Chukwuemeka Lalu dropping down the order a little bit. I saw there on the tower. He's round and he's without a front wing. Lalu, unfortunately, has been involved something on the exit of turn number 5, as Sam Carpenter in the pit lane for his second stop in this race. The soft tyres have screamed, that's enough. We want to get off this car and you can get onto something else. Nick Brackey's 11th place at the moment. He is closing up on David Pruskowski, the Welsh driver, hunting the pole ahead of him. Sam Carpenter, though, is going to come back out into the race in 7th place, ahead of these two drivers that are battling at the moment. Brackey closing up on Pruskowski. Will he be close enough with DRS to make a move into turn number 1? Let's see if he'll be the king of the late breakers. He's angling. He wants to make a move down on the inside. There's contact between the two of them, but I believe there was a little bit of rubbing. Brackey, though, not close enough to make the move. You wouldn't think. Kraus now moves up into 3rd place. Into 2nd place, I believe. I think Nick Nalkarinen might be pitting, you would imagine, but we shall see. No, Nalkarinen's just without a front wing. Tino Nalkarinen has made a mistake. He's spun off somewhere in the middle sector and has lost his front wing, promoting Philip Kraus up into 2nd place in this race. So Nalkarinen giving Philip there a bit of a birthday gift and promoting him up into 2nd place position. Nalkarinen's still sitting in 3rd, but you would imagine he definitely can be coming in this lap. Yep, got to fix that front wing.
He's got to make this corner, though.
He's got to get round it. Scott Davison, though, is going to come up into 3rd place in the race because Kieran Chadwick.
Oh God, I hope he got it slowed down.
Oh, it's yeah, he doesn't have the error that he probably required there to break. But we shall see what he does with strategy. You'd imagine another set of soft compound tyres to get him to the end of the race as Chukwuemeka Lalu comes out in 14th place. So Kevin Turner sitting in 12th at the moment as White comes into the pit lane as well. So he's actually going to come out ahead of Nalkarinen. So Tino here with a massive stop. He comes out now just ahead as Kevin Cox comes in the pit lane. Nalkarinen in what is effectively, I'm going to say about 9th or 10th place. So he's about where he is at the moment. White's actually jumped Brackey. So that's a fantastic stop there from Kian White, moving up into what is 8th place at the moment. Pruskowski got a pit again. So Kenyon White there with a fantastic strategy. He has worked wonders. He's up into 8th place after starting in 20th.
And he's on the super softs too. So Nick Brackey behind him is, I don't believe he's come into the pits yet, and he's still on the softs. So Kenyon's going to want to put some distance between him and Brackey, who were fighting over that 8th, I believe it was 9th place at the time, in that massive 4-way battle. But looking to catch David Peszkowski, and we've seen Kenyon have a ton of pace over David Peszkowski before. So Kenyon's probably feeling pretty confident right now, as we have surpassed the halfway point of this race, if I'm not mistaken. Quick,
We have indeed.
caster math. Yes.
Yep, so past halfway. At the moment, it's a double defines podium, but I think Kieran Chadwick will have a bit of input in that. He has pitted for the second time. He's the only one in the top 4 to have done so.
Ooh,
We've got
undercut?
an undercut potentially on Scott Davidson. Davidson would be a certainty, but Kraus is probably the one that he'll be looking at potentially passing. He'll be close between the two of them, but Craig Baxter, though, he's 9 seconds ahead of Philip Kraus at the moment. You'd imagine he might be coming in at the end of this lap for his second stop in the race. Put on another set of soft compound tyres to take him to the end. No, he's going to continue on for another tour of this Hungaroring circuit. Philip Kraus does the same. No, he's coming into the pit lane. So Philip Kraus, the American, comes into the pit lane, covering off the Kieran Chadwick strategy play. We shall see if it's going to work. But here comes
Kraus is in, yeah.
Yeah, so Scott Davidson, he's going to come up. He also is going to come into the pit lane.
Ooh.
So second and third come pit, and here comes Kieran Chadwick. He's coming around the final corner now. So where is Kraus going to emerge? He's got right at the end of the pit lane. So he's going to emerge. He's going to deactivate the pit limiter. Where is Chadwick in relation to Kraus? It looks as though that Kraus, the birthday boy, is held on to second place in this race, just marginally ahead of Kieran Chadwick by about 2 seconds. In the end, Sam Carpenter now promoted up to 4th place, so he's made up 12 places so far in this race. A great race from the Sabre driver.
Tino, who we saw lose the front wing a little bit earlier, he's going to end up in 10th place for now.
Sorry, I was just going to say there's it's Kian versus Peszkowski versus Brackey. They're all battling for what is 7th place in the race.
Wow, they caught
Kian White.
Peszkowski already.
Yep, Kenyon White just passed Peszkowski with DRS into turn number 1. I think Nick Brackey won't be waiting as long. He'll be looking to make a move somewhere else on this circuit. Maybe not into turn 4, that'd be a bit audacious, but maybe into the chicane if Peszkowski struggles with an exit.
Yes.
He's struggling
with
right. Yeah. He's struggling with front. He has only pitted the singular time so far in this race. A big snap of oversteer there on exit, so you can see that he really is starting to struggle, is Peszkowski. So you'd imagine the Wolf Racing car might be coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap, because you can see Nalkarainen is closing up behind Brackey. As you can see, Kenyon White's just completely disappeared off in the distance now, so it's of paramount importance for Brackey to get past, as we see a lock up there from David. See, Brackey, though, is now going to switch his attention from attacking to defending. Let's see if Peszkowski's... No, he's not. He's going to continue on for another lap. He will be an absolute sitting duck here as we head down toward turn 1, because the 2 cars behind are going to have DRS on the Polish driver. Heading now down and towards turn 1. Here comes Nick Brackey. He's going to go down on the inside. He locks up, though. He sets sail. He's off the circuit, but now it's going to result in both Brackey and Nalkarainen going to go side by side now into turn number 2. Who's going to be ahead as they head into the braking zone? It's going to be Brackey, but there's contact between the two of them. It's absolute rubbins racing here between the two of them. They're going to be side by side now into 3. Brackey goes off the circuit. He rejoins ahead of Nalkarainen. They're still going to be fairly close together as they head into turn number 4. No, Nalkarainen's going to think better of an undercut there into 5. What a move there from Tino Nalkarainen to move himself up into what is 8th place in this Grand Prix. A fantastic move there from the Finnish driver. That was an amazing move. We should mention
that Nalkarainen had his birthday last week. He missed the race. And he turned 18, so where he lives, that means he can drink. He had the beer goggles on. From what we heard, he had the beer goggles on all week. That move means he just ripped them off and said, "I'm going racing, baby."
Well, he's going to do a bit more, because right ahead of them is Scott Davidson, who seems to have closed up in terms of the gap. He seems to be slowing quite dramatically. I don't know what has happened to Scott Davidson. We might have a look at the sector times here to see what's happened. he has lost 11 seconds in the middle sector. So something has happened here to Scott Davidson. A spin potentially, somewhere in those sweeping corners in the middle sector, has now resulted in him being under assault from Tino Nälkärainen. Nälkärainen looking to move up the field, potentially into 7th place. I was just saying, actually, I was going to say Philip Kraus has gone purple in the first sector, so Philip starting to close that gap up slightly on Craig Baxter. Craig Baxter, who's yet to pit, he's in the pit lane right now. Here he is, the leader of the race. He's going to peel into the. Yeah, I don't think the gap is small enough for Philip Kraus to get past Craig Baxter. He's now left the pit box, coming to the end of the pit lane. He's going to deactivate the pit limiter. He's going to re-emerge in the lead of this Grand Prix. He's on a set of ultra soft tyres, is Craig Baxter. So you have to do about 18 or so laps on those tyres to make it to the end. That's very risky from Craig.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be doing 18 laps on ultra softs.
The good thing is that he's in clean air now, so he'll be able to use the pace with that to extend the gap, and then when he pits again, the gap will decrease, but it'll be longer because of the fact that he's been on a faster compound. So he'll set fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap, but that'll then probably result in a gap that would allow him to stay ahead of Philip Kraus after he makes his final stop. Philip Kraus, though, you'd imagine, has stopped for the final time on a set of super soft tyres, with Kieran Chadwick sitting in 3rd at the moment on a set of, I believe they are, no, that's soft. Yeah, they're soft, with Sam Carpenter in 4th. Evan Rice looking strong in 5th is the American on a set of soft tyres, but right behind him it's his arch enemy, Kenyon White. They've made contact twice so far this season. Famously in Spain, where Kenyon was out of the race, and I think Evan had to drag the car home. And then in Austria, where they both somehow collided, pirouetted, and ended up not changing positions and facing the right way. And then the battle resumed as normal. But Kenyon, he's got to be careful, because he knows that he's pretty much on his last warning before he gets a race ban. I don't think you'd want to see Evan Rice and battle him, knowing their history, if you are on that final warning. But hey, we're at the point.
Or maybe you do.
Oh, and Evan Rice diffuses the situation by pitting immediately. Well, there goes that intriguing battle.
No, I was going to make the point, though, that, Kian, that could have been a great moment for Kian to show just how mature he can be on the track.
Here comes Nälkärainen, sorry. On the inside of Scott Davison into turn 1. They're going to go side by side, 6th and 7th. They're going to still be side by side after the turn 1 exit. Nälkärainen with a bit of DRS into turn 2 allows him to pull ahead of Scott Davidson and into Defiance. So Nälkärainen up to 6th place in this Grand Prix, making up time from what he lost after losing his front wing there a few laps ago.
Just kind of keeping an eye on Nälkärainen right now, because he's got a ton of speed on it out of nowhere. He's running the softs, so the hardest compound here this weekend. Yeah, he's just got the car dialed in. It's gripping very well.
It's looking good.
Quite balanced. Well done, sir.
I was just waiting to see what happens to Jujuka Pekalalu, because he was in that battle with Nick Brackey. He's now in 14th and quite a way behind Kevin Turner in 13th. So something's happened there for Lalu. Unfortunately, it resulted in with him being dropped out of the potential battle for the points. As we're on lap 33 of this Grand Prix, Evan Rice on a set of ultra softs, hunting down David Paskovsky. So the American, the KRT, hunting the wolf. He's getting very close indeed, is Evan Rice. So let's see. He might go for a move up on the inside of the final corner. That would be very unique. It's something we haven't seen so far in this race. But here we go. DRS. It'll be a fairly straightforward move, you imagine. He's going to pull to the inside. Here's Evan Rice. There's 2 compounds difference between the 2 drivers. Evan Rice with a straightforward move, an easy move up on the inside into turn 1. And he's now up into 10th place in the race. Next up, it's Kevin Cox for him.
And Cox is on the softs as well. So Evan Rice, I think he just wanted to make up some positions as quickly as possible. So he threw on the ultras, see how far he can get with them. And honestly, this tire strategy is really shaking things up. Wasn't really expecting much of this. I was kind of expecting a quiet race, everybody sort of tiptoeing around. But we have seen quite a bit of action here as we move into about, 12 laps to go?
Yes, so a bit more than 12 laps. More 15.
15. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Hey, you know, I've been up since 7 a.m. on a Saturday in
Oh,
California.
oh, it's brutal. But
Also
it's
public school, yes.
public, yes, fantastic math. But I can actually see that Evan Rice has gone purple in the first sector with a 27.015, and he's now closed up massively on Kevin Cox. Obviously, the DRS has helped Evan Rice set that first sector time, but he's now in DRS range of Kevin Cox. He's going to be in the slipstream and in the DRS. Will it be a similar move to he made to Praskovsky? Down on the inside goes Evan Rice, up like a missile on the inside, and he puts himself up into 9th place. A very aggressive and very good move there from the American driver. He's now got Nick Brackey to approach, who's about 4.5 seconds up the road.
Closing fast too. I mean,
Those
Brackey
ultra softs
just
are working
found-
well.
Not only the ultra softs, and he's just found a ton of grip, and I think a lot of that has to come down to the fact that there is a lot of rubber on the track right now, and this is a fantastic time actually to grab those ultra softs and get going. The other person, what happened?
Nelkarainen is very close to Scott Davidson. So obviously these two battled each other, and Nelkarainen got past a couple of laps ago, but it's very close between the two. Davidson has closed up slightly. Carpenter, though, 4th place. He's in the pit lane. He's pulled out of his box. He's coming down to the exit of the pit lane. Will he come out behind his teammate? I think he is going. Yes, he is going to. So Kenyon White's going to come out ahead of Sam Carpenter. The Sabre switch places. Sam Carpenter actually there, crossed the pit lane exit line, which I think will result in a penalty for Sam Carpenter there. So the Sabre driver cut the pit lane exit, I think, squirming under throttle. He went over the line, which I think that is a penalty. So that could be big for Sam Carpenter's final result.
Was it Sam, or was it another driver saying that he was having wheel troubles where it would just go to lock out of nowhere?
That was Craig. Yes, Craig was saying his wheel was trying to kill him. But Cam White there let Sam Carpenter back through. So sportsmanlike driving here from Cam White. And he now moves himself down to 5th, but Sam's now up to 4th and on a fresh set of tyres and ready to go after his 3rd stop in this Hungarian Grand Prix.
Just kind of keeping an eye on this Tino Nakarainen and Scott Davison race here as Scott's starting to run a little bit wide. I think his tires are starting to get a little bit warm. As Tino's still looking super stable, a couple of lockups here and there, but nothing like we haven't seen before from Tino, although he goes a little bit outside here in the penultimate corner. Oh, and he nearly spins it out, puts it in the wall. Tino just got a little bit too crazy on the tires. Yeah, he's going to have to come in for some repair and a new set.
As Nick Brackey comes into the pit lane as well, so Zesty Racing car follows Nelkarainen in. I was just having a look there. Max Shepard and David Paskovsky were fairly close, and yeah, it is. Max Shepard's closing up massively on David Paskovsky as they head into the final corner now. Nelkarainen and Brackey, will they come out ahead of this battle pack here? Max Shepard, let's see if we can go on board with the Vulcan driver, the red number 27 car. As you can see, Nelkarainen's there. Will Max Shepard be close enough to make a move on Paskovsky, because Nelkarainen is there, and Nelkarainen sort of blocks Paskovsky there on exit. Max Shepard with a big slide there on exit. That really restricted his ability to make a move. Max Shepard there, I think that was his golden opportunity was sort of ruined there by Nelkarainen coming out the pit lane. But we shall see as Max Shepard set sail off the exit of the circuit. Brackey, though, is just behind, I believe, Shepard, so about 2.6 seconds behind Max Shepard. So Brackey, who'll be looking to make moves. Kieran Chadwick, 3rd place man, comes into the lane as well. It'll be interesting to see if he comes out ahead of Sam Carpenter. Max Shepard, though, sits in 11th place at the moment. He is hunting David Paskovsky. But we shall see if Mac will be able to make a move potentially here into turn number 12. It would be a fantastic place to make a move, especially with a poor exit there from Paskovsky. Not close enough this time round, but David goes wide, allows Mac to close up. Will it be a move into turn 13 though? Mac backs out of it, thinks better of it, lifting off the throttle there through 13. What about into turn 14? Nope, David Paskovsky comes into the pit lane as Kevin Cox, Mac's teammate, does the same as well. So 8th and what will be 12th come into the pit lane. And actually, right behind Mac, it's Nick Brackey. Nick Brackey with DRS and Max Shepard with DRS. Doesn't matter though, Nick Brackey's going to go down on the inside and up into 9th place in this Grand Prix. A fantastic move there from the Welsh driver on the British driver behind. But Max Shepard there, goes out really wide, almost crashes into the back of Bracky.
I think Bracky had a little bit of a late break there, and Mac was not expecting that at all, as Shepard had to lock it up a little bit and bring the rear end around. I think Max Shepard has had a little bit of rally experience, because that's something you see on the back roads of Finland more than anything.
Yeah, it was certainly different there, sorry, from Shepard, but unfortunately he's now lost a place to Nick Bracky. Elkarainen, a few seconds up the road. He's now ahead of Bracky as well after that strategical play. As Kenyon White comes to the pit lane, the fifth place man. Be interesting to see where he peels out after the pit stop. He might be around the Bracky, Elkarainen, Shepard battle, dependent on what happens. But we see Elkarainen going around the final corner now on a set of super soft tyres. Where is Kenyon White? He's coming to the end of the pit lane. He's going to deactivate the pit limiter. Where is Elkarainen in relation to him? I think it's going to be 7th place lockdown for Kenyon White. So, yeah, that's a done deal. The car ahead of him, though, it's his old enemy. Evan Rice is in 6th place, and that's the car next up for Kenyon White. Is Max Shepard. 10th place comes into the pit lane as well.
And so Kenyon came into the pits. There's just about 10 laps to go. He threw on a set of super softs. As Kraus comes into the pits now with his super softs. Craig Baxter, though, the leader, has ultra softs on, so he has to stop. There's no way he can make it. And with Kraus coming in, this could be a bit of an undercut. He's going to throw on another set of super softs. So strategy abound here at the Hungary.
Ooh, it's going to be close here between Kraus and Lalu. Lalu over to a lapped car. Thinks better of it and doesn't choose to pass the car ahead, which is a good play, a good idea there from Lalu. Hasn't got too much to gain by unlapping himself against Kraus, but he can play the long game and hope for something to happen ahead.
Just kind of cycling through, timing a little bit, figuring out if there's any really close battles coming out. But after pit stops and things like that, not really too much going on. A little bit of close up there from Elkarainen and Kenyon White.
Kevin Cox is out of the race. Oh, and a big slide there from Peskovski as well. 10th place man has gone very wild there through turn number 13. Allows Shepard to close up a little bit.
And that's where the race is right now. It's who can make the least amount of mistakes and who's going to close up on those mistakes that you make. It's like usually this is the time, the sort of racing that you see that around the middle time of the race, but no, we've seen action galore throughout the middle of the race, and now everybody's finally like, okay, there's only 14 of us left out of 21. Like, maybe we should calm down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then probably Kenyon says, "Nah, let's not do that. Let's race." Speaking of racing, though, and I mentioned Kenyon, he's closed up quite a bit on Evan Rice in the KRT. That's in DRS. Rice has made a defensive move. Kenyon's going to go up on the inside. Rice tries to block it out, but it's not going to work. Kenyon White makes an absolutely picture-perfect pass through turn 1.
Wow, it's amazing. They've actually passed each other cleanly this time. It's the first time this season I think it's happened. But the leader, Craig Baxter, is in the pit lane. The Defiance car is pulling into his box, you would imagine, for another set of ultra soft tyres to take him to the end. Be interesting to see. He's going to come out way ahead of Philip Kraus. So you think that's a done deal for Craig Baxter? Another win, you would imagine, to add to his collection with the fastest tyre available. And he's got a gap to the car in second place as well. So
8 laps on ultra softs?
Easy peasy.
Yeah, I guess for Craig, he must have figured out a setup that is able to just go super easy on the tires, which kind of begs the question: do the tires need to be changed?
It's a possibility. The tires are they're very prone to thermal deg, so I think that's the potentially the only issue with the tires themselves.
Evan Rice is in the pits now. after being passed by his arch nemesis, Kenyon White. And he comes out on Ultra Softs as well. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect Ultra Softs to last 8 laps at this track, especially with all the off-camber turns and just kind of quickness that you have to use to get around this place at a decent rate. But I guess if the Ultra Softs will last more than 5 laps, they'll last, 7, 8, and kind of either limp it home or make sure you don't get the thermal dead going and don't lock them up.
Yeah, it's just keeping the car and everything else under control. And if you can keep the tires, the engine, the brakes, the gearbox, everything under control, you can pretty much get this car to the end. And in the points, you see drivers that make mistakes and spin the car around, and as soon as you spin, you put the car under so much stress that the tire's flat spot, and so you have to pit because it'll shake the fillings out of your teeth through the forces that the wheel will be going through by doing so. So if you spin, you basically do put yourself off with strategy. So if you can keep the car on the circuit, on the black stuff, and under some sort of control, pace-wise, you're going to end up in the points, you would think.
For those wondering, this is simulation racing, of course. You don't feel that throughout your whole body, but some of the steering wheels that we use on the track are extremely strong. There's a ton of torque behind them. And even on, I use a Logitech G27. Even in that, when the tire shake gets so bad, I mean, you can feel it all the way up into your shoulders and into your back. I mean, it sucks when you flat spot your tires like that. So you learn real quick. You don't want to do that at all. And even trying to keep the car on the track, it's very, very tough.
Yeah, it really is far from ideal if you do spin the car around, because you're basically putting yourself out of really any contention for what position you're battling in, because you have to rely on the car ahead to do so that you're battling. But we've got Scott Davison coming into the pit lane to make what will be his final stop in this Grand Prix.
Now for Scott, he's going to want to push as hard as possible. He has light fuel, ultra soft tires, and they'll be the newest tires pretty much on the track at this point. That's 7th place, 41 seconds behind the leader. Well, actually more like 50 seconds behind the leader. He's not going to be making up an extreme amount of time on the leader, but he might be able to pick up a couple of spots, and the valuable points that come along with that, as Scott Davison is sitting 8th. So, I mean, his best finish this season is a 5th. He's 2 positions away from that, and honestly, he's got a lot of time between him and Kenyon White. He's definitely not going to be catching the leader. He's about a minute behind. But say about 10 seconds or so between him and Kenyon in 5th. Nick Brackey's breathing down his neck a little bit. So Nick, though, could be smart here and just follow Scott through the corners of this track and see just how far he could get a little bit closer. But we'll have to see as Tino actually jumps in the pits himself, the ACR Zaxpeed car coming through here, also putting on a set of Ultra Softs. He'll be passed up by Tino and Nick.
And you'd imagine maybe even Rice would pass him as well, but this could spice up the race towards the end here.
Rice passed.
Yep, Rice has flown by those ultra soft tyres. As Evan Rice, he'll be looking like he'll be probably past Manel Karainen, you would imagine, but the interesting thing will be if Brackey can either hold on to the back here of Davison, because we know Scott is prone to potentially making a mistake or two, but we shall see.
Tino closing up here on Evan Rice. Evan just keeping it clean, doing exactly what he needs to do, get through the track clean and quick as possible. Tino got the dirty air. He's going to be looking like he's being aggressive, but it's more or less just being in dirty air is kind of pushing him around a touch. But NinjaRider coming through the penultimate corner, trying to line up Evan for something. Rice had a little bit of an odd line coming through the last corner, but that gave him a pretty good exit. NinjaRider now will have DRS. Rice diving to the inside a little bit. NinjaRider on the inside, coming into turn 1. That will be NinjaRider's position if he doesn't lock it up here. Perfectly executed turn 1 pass there as Tino moves himself into 8th place, and Evan Rice now just needs to keep his nose clean and stick with NinjaRider as much as he can, but it really looks like Tino has found some speed here in the waning moments of this race.
Yeah, it was a textbook move there by Tino NinjaRider to move himself up in to 8th place ahead of Evan Rice. We're on lap 46 of 49 of this Hungarian Grand Prix. Craig Baxter leading the field by 8.8 seconds. And he's actually lapped Max Shepard now. Max Shepard sitting in 11th on the cusp of the points.
Should also mention that Tino is starting to catch Nick Brackey. Brackey
He closed
on
up massively.
softs, I believe, that Nick has expired those tires a little bit. I don't think he anticipated the fact that he's going to need another change. As Tino has the DRS, he's going to make this pass fairly easily.
It's a straightforward move.
Yeah, very straightforward. And Nick obviously not going to fight that one. There's just no way. Nick did not get a great exit coming out of the last corner, so you might as well just let Tino by, get the 8th place. And I'm actually quite impressed by Nick Brackey here. He's kept his nose clean for the most part, had a couple of tangles here and there, but nothing too crazy, and coming home with a solid 8th place. More or less the race of attrition here, but he still had to be quick to get in front of the likes of Evan Rice, David Peshkovsky, and the like. And it kind of just put him in a great position to just gain some points there for Zesty Racing.
Yes,
Kraus is sitting there in 2nd place as well.
Yes, very happy. But I was actually looking at, we said about in Turkey when the Sabre car started at the back of the grid, they got their best combined result of 4th and 5th. They started at the back of the grid again, and look what's happened. They're sitting in 4th and 5th again. So maybe the team strategy is just to not take part in qualifying, and you'll end up with a fantastic result that puts you well inside the top 5.
I mean, then at least you get to choose whatever tire you want, so there's that.
Exactly. Maybe it's the way to go. Maybe everyone's missing a trick here. The best option is to not qualify.
Just don't even do it. Just get all your practice in. Make sure your car's set up for racing, and absolutely stable during the race. Qualifying, chuck it out the window.
Yeah, it's a
sense.
bold play. It's a bold play. Maybe Craig Baxter should try it in the next race. I believe it's Spa. But yeah, maybe not.
Bold move, Cotton.
It's Just gonna have a look to see if there is any potential battles here. Well, actually, I just saw Kenyon White there driving on the grass halfway down the back straight. That's far from ideal there from the Irish driver.
Far from ideal is a bit of an understatement. I think it might be, straight out, don't do that. Than anything. Yeah. But Kenyon has had actually a fairly rough race, all things considered. He's been trying to keep his nose clean as much as he can. There were a couple of bumps and bangs here and there. He was getting racy, though. And I don't know, Zach. What do you think? I think, personally, he's proved himself. He can be a clean racer, and he gets up there and tangles with him a little bit. A couple of bumps and bangs there, but nothing crazy at all from Kenyon White today.
It's been interesting. It's been probably a race that he very much needs, and a strong performance through the pack, and then up into the top 5. But I was actually just seeing Craig Baxter, the leader of the race, has started the final lap of this Hungarian Grand Prix lap for number 49. It's been pretty much a lights to flag victory for Craig Baxter. He obviously lost the lead there early in the race to Kieran Chadwick, but he took it back with those ultra softs from Kieran Chadwick starting to go off in the first stint in the race. But then, apart from that, it's been smooth sailing for the Scottish driver, and he's going to take another win this season and extend his championship advantage. And I think he'd be starting to feel fairly comfortable with the fact that season 1, the championship, looks to be his as we head into the final few races of this season. We're round number 11 of 16, so round number 12 next up, and I think he'll have about a 50-point advantage heading into round number 12. It's something would have to go severely wrong for him to lose the championship now, but he's going to come round the penultimate corner. He's going to look to see if he can make his way now around the final corner. Craig Baxter's going to now win the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's another win. It's another extension of his championship lead. Philip Kraus is going to come round the final corner, though, on his birthday to come round and finish second place for Zesty Racing. Another podium for him, another podium for Zesty Racing. Behind him, it's Kieran Chadwick, who's going to come around the final corner now to finish third for KRT. Fantastic result for them. And the rest of the field, the Sabres, will be not too far behind.
Just kind of watching everybody kind of go around the track right now. As the cars are tired out, it just seemed like the track really came around grip-wise, and it allowed some tire strategy to come through here. But really, the standout one would be Nick Brackey, as he makes his way through the ultimate corner here of the race on the softs too. An absolute trooper. I think this should prove that Nick can save some tires. I believe he came into the pits once or twice. Was it twice? Oh no, he did come in 3 times. So he just went the reverse strategy, and a lot of people were running the ultra softs at the end, but no, he said no, I'm gonna go the other way, and it actually worked out pretty good for him, all things considered. And 8th place for him is quite solid.
It's another solid amount of points for Zesty Racing. You should be very, very happy with the result for the team. It's just got to score points, just got to outscore Rice, White, and Davidson, and then Zesty Racing can start to close up the gap. But it's been a very good race for both Sabre and Defiance. Scott Davidson coming through with another points finish. But we're going to take a short break now, and we'll come back in a few moments' time with the top 3 interviews. We're back here for the top 3 interviews for the drivers. But we can only speak to 2, unfortunately, as Kieran Chubbuck has had to rush off quickly. So we're going to speak to second place man, Philip Krause. Philip, are you here?
Hello.
Now, Phil.
Hello.
Phil, don't be nervous. It's just your boss. No problem.
Hi, boss.
Well, second place, a good result. How did you feel with the? I think strategy seemed to be played a big part in today's race. A lot of the drivers were sort of unaware of how long the tyres could last. How did you feel with your strategy?
I don't know. I guess I got the most out of it that I could. I was never matching Craig on pace, so second's probably the best I could have got with tires, no matter what I went on. Just went on supers to be safe.
And was there anything that stood out in the race that was like an incident? I think looking at it, you probably had a bit of a quiet race with maybe a couple of moves there on drivers with older tyres.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most boring races I've driven in a while. Only pass I really made was on Kieran.
Okay, yeah. Well, obviously heading into round number 12. I don't know what the next. I think it is Spa. Is it the next circuit? The Belgian Grand Prix. How do you feel heading towards the Spa-Francorchamps circuit?
Favorite track, so I'm hoping for something positive to come out of it.
Well, there we go. Well, that'll be certainly good. Well, well done on another second place. Happy birthday.
Danke.
We'll see you at Belgium.
Okie dokie.
There
No,
we go, Philip.
We didn't ask how old he was turning.
Oh no, we can't. We best not do that. But we'll see. We'll see if.
Are we under 18 on this one, or?
No, I don't think so.
Can we not crack open one with the boys? I mean, that's okay. I'm fine with a soda, whatever. But I'm just saying.
Or a Ribena. But we're going to speak now to the race winner, Craig Baxter. Here he is. Craig, you here?
Yes.
Well, another win, another extension of your championship lead. How'd you feel after that race?
Dead.
Dead? Warm?
Way too hot.
Yep.
Oh my god, my t-shirt. I couldn't even get it off. It was stuck to me.
Whoa. Easy, ladies. Easy.
Oh, I never want to race in that heat again.
Well, the scorching Scottish weather, but you managed to survive it. A dominant win in the end, considering it's Hungary and the lap time is fairly short. So, how'd you feel in terms of the strategy? We were saying to Philip that sort of the drivers really sort of seemed a bit unsure of how long the tyres would go, and they were sort of just juggling about to just be on a tyre that would get you to the end.
I could have went soft to the end. As you see, I went much longer than Philip on the softs in the middle. He came in. I could have went soft, but no one else, like Philip wasn't. So at that point, there's no real why risk it on like dead, like maybe 50% tires. You'll be sliding about. It's the lowest grip tire. So why not have some fun, shove on some ultra softs and just make it easy towards the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, obviously we're heading to the next round. Round number 12 is the Belgian Grand Prix. How do you feel heading towards the Spa circuit?
Not one of my strongest tracks. Should be closer probably.
Uh-huh.
Kieran's normally good there, so we'll see if he can actually come back. But I don't know what's happened to him. He's just not had pace in the last 3-4 races. He's just dropping off really. So just try and keep it up, I guess. But it might be a better idea to start second in Spa with the long run up of Rouge and then onto the Camel Straight. It should be closer because slipstream and DRS people obviously you can stay with people are much better, but depends if some are going to go with low downforce or high downforce. Won't be an interesting split at least.
Curtis and I were discussing before that the Sabres seem to have their best races when they don't qualify. So maybe you should have a go at that and see where you can end up Spa. Obviously, you said that the long Camel Straight, you could really have a few fantastic moves there. But
maybe we'll see.
We'll see. Yes, obviously. But now you've extended your championship lead. I believe now over 50 points. You're starting to feel like 7 wins. There you go. That's probably, I'm going to say, 4 more than anyone else. So you starting to feel like maybe it's a done deal? Maybe you can start to take the foot off the accelerator, or do you want to just crush the competition and win these final 5 races?
It's never over till it's over. I mean, last year, and obviously Nebula Hungary race, I just wanted redemption from that. That was probably one of the stupidest losses I've ever had on the final lap,
Yes.
like 3 corners to go. So I was making up for that. I can't remember. Last year, I actually started back at grid with Jambolic Bassi. We both did at Spa. So, I mean, I think I ended up in 3rd because of a weird tyre glitch at the pit stop. But for some reason, I put on the wrong tyre. So, I guess as long as I improve on the 3rd, I'll be happy. But I might start back again. We'll see.
We shall see. Well, congratulations on another win, another pole to add to your collection so far in the season. We'll see you in Belgium.
Goodbye.
Well, there we go. A fantastic race. A lot of battling, especially in the midfield. The midfield really provided the entertainment there in this race. It was fairly straightforward at the front, but the midfield, the likes of Shepherd, Bracky, Rice, White, really, and Carpenter even as well, coming through the field, they really provided a lot of overtaking, and it was a fantastic show that they put on. Any closing remarks, Curtis?
A lot cleaner this race. I think this one might have been the cleanest race that we've seen all year, really. A couple of bumps and bangs and the usual sim racing stuff that you see, but we didn't really see too much in the way of, intentional slamming each other off the track. There were a couple of incidences, I'm sure, that will be reported, of course, as there seems to always be in races like these, and mostly just high passion, high energy types of setups where, a pass needs to be made. Sometimes it goes through and sometimes it doesn't. It's just kind of the way it goes, unfortunately, for some people. I have been impressed by a few drivers, though. Kenyon White, namely, and Jordy Zwires, namely as well, even though Jordy did end up in the gearbox somehow. Unfortunately, that one still baffles me. I'm going to have to go through the replay on that one because I have a bad feeling about that little bit of incident. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Kenyon took a little bit of a ride over the sleeping policeman, and still he ended up with a great position at the end of the race. So fantastic race overall, and definite entertainment in the midfield. This one felt more like a real F1 race, though, I have to admit.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me, Curtis. Thank you, everyone watching, for joining us. We're not racing next weekend as we're going to have a week break, but the week after that, we're ready. We're back for round number 12, the Belgian Grand Prix. We shall see you then. Goodbye.